Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And I am kind of slow to jump into my first topic here because I know people are going to aggressively misunderstand what I'm saying here. So just come with me really slow. First, it's going to be about Tony Romo, so it's a sensitive subject for us all.
Alarm police say Tony Romo had an open container in his vehicle when he was stopped on a Milwaukee highway and arrested for allegedly operating the vehicle while intoxicated. ABC News reports the former Cowboys quarterback was issued 3 citations, including unsafe passing. He has not been formally charged, but is due to appear in court in September.
So my first question is, should he lose his job? He hasn't lost his job. The decision has not been made. People have looked at it, and by his job, for those of you who haven't been keeping up with the great Tony Romo, he's a broadcaster now, and he calls games. And on Sunday, he's on the number 1 crew, along with Jim Nantz, and so now his network has already been asked. Is he gonna lose his job? Well, CBS hasn't fired him yet. I guess if they haven't done it by now, he might be safe. But the New York Post is reporting that Tony Romo might take a step back from the spotlight. And it sounds like we're waiting on CBS to make up their mind, which I don't know what they're waiting on. You don't know by now. I think maybe if they want to continue with him and have as little kerfluffle as possible, they should say absolutely nothing until it's like a week or two later and be like, yeah, he's fine. But I don't think he should. Do you? Now, I don't think drunk driving is good. Some people are going to misinterpret what I said as I'm pro drunk driving. I'm not. I just don't think it's such an egregious offense that your career should be ruined if your career has nothing to do with drinking nor driving. He's a broadcaster. He talks into a microphone. He had a few beers, got behind the wheel of a car. That's wrong, but he doesn't deserve to have his entire life and career destroyed because he did something wrong. And the deciding factor I have in this case is that nobody was hurt. If Tony Romo had gotten into a car wreck and hurt somebody, or God forbid, killed somebody, then yeah, you know what? Maybe he should lose his job. Depends on whose fault it was in the circumstances, but it could be bad enough that he could lose his job. I don't think this is. And one of the things that changed my mind, because I used to be very, very against drunk driving, kind of like regular Garrett over there. You're drunk driving. If you had anything to drink and you get behind the wheel of a car, that counts as drunk driving. Regular Garrett thinks 1 beer, you shouldn't drive if you've had 1 beer. You and I know in the real world, that's not how it works. And if you want to see what I saw, go wait tables or work at a bar. And you will see people all day, every day come in, drink more than the legal limit that it takes to fail a breathalyzer test. Not to operate a car. Apparently they all operated a car just fine because you would see your regulars in there every day. But if you ever work at a bar, it's not like Cheers, but there are guys who come in on an almost daily basis. There are certified, genuine alcoholics, and then there's people who are just very social, and this is just part of their habit. Hey, I get off work, I have a couple beers with the boys. If you work blue-collar jobs, it's quite normal. If y'all are on one of these long shifts where you get to work at 8 o'clock and you get off at 10 p.m., you go to the only thing really open to where you can get some food is a bar with a kitchen. And so what? You watch all 12 people in your crew have at least 3 beers. That puts us all over the legal limit. Then they all drive home, and then you see them all the next day. If this is something that happens thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of times every day with no negative consequences, or how about with minimum negative consequences, then I don't think it's something that's worthy of losing your job for. Now, again, I can feel people misinterpreting, just aggressively misinterpreting what I said. I don't think drunk driving is good. I'm not pro drunk driving. I'm not encouraging it. I'm not minimizing it. It's still bad. It should still be illegal, but Tony Romo should keep his job. Can we thread this needle and have an adult conversation about this? 800-288-9227. Because I cringe when I see like a teacher get pulled over for drunk driving and she loses her job. Well, that's not setting a good example for the kids. Well, don't tell them about it. They're not watching the news. They're not reading the paper. Or if they do find out about it, just say, yeah, that was a mistake. Some people make mistakes. You got to be really careful about that. But the number of people I see calling for Tony Romo's head in the comment section online, am I in the minority on this, or is it just the angry people that are the loudest in the comment section? 800-288-9227. We'll continue this. Should Tony Romo lose his job next on The James Show? News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Who's ready to hear my position on drunk driving aggressively misinterpreted? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. My point is, don't forget the WBAP morning show, the fun crew from 5 to 9 in the mornings here on WBAP. But this is coming up because Tony Romo, the discussion is being had on whether or not he should keep his job as CBS as a broadcaster. And I think drunk driving is a serious crime. I think it deserves to be illegal. I think we've swung the pendulum too far in the enforcement side. Number one, I think the 0.08 is too low of a threshold. I think maybe there should be a sliding scale depending on your height and weight. Anyway. And then also, the fact that there was no one hurt is a big factor. The fact that, he looked like he was drunk, but not like very drunk. He could still talk. He could still hold the conversation. He could still get out. He could still walk. He still had most of his motor functions. So I think maybe he was drunk enough to catch some charges or a misdemeanor or something, but not to lose his job. Now, the misinterpretation is going to come from people who are going to say, people were killed every day, or my wife was killed in a crash, so you don't know what you're talking about, or you're being reckless supporting drunk driving. I don't support drunk driving. You have to allow me some nuance on this, please. Can we be grown-ups? So what do you think? Should Tony Romo lose his job? We go to Paige in Fort Worth. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hi there. My mother was killed by a drunk driver. I was pregnant with her grandchild, her first grandchild, so I think if I can say that he doesn't need to be fired, then he probably doesn't need to be fired. But I think if it's not there's exceptions. I don't think anybody should be fired from that because you're paying the price and it's humiliating. You have to pay your community service and all the stuff, whatever they make you do. Fines and all that. I think you pay your price with the legal system. I think there are exceptions to the rule. If you're a truck driver, if you're a pastor, if you're a police officer, you're someone who's, it can affect your moral code. Being compromised can affect your ability to do your job effectively. I think when people have faith in you and look to you for moral, to uphold the law and all that. I think there's exceptions, but I think Tony Romo, no, I don't think he should lose his job.
How drunk do you have to be before? How drunk do you have to be before it costs you your job?
Well,
I'm agreeing with you. I'm just asking, where do you draw the line, Paige, personally?
I think. I don't think it matters how drunk you are. I think if you were driving under the influence based on what the law allows, then that's a crime. It's not for me to decide. They've decided. I agree with you. I think it probably is a little too low, but I think it's a matter of breaking the law. I think if you know that you're not supposed to drink and drive, and you drink and drive, and there's certain people who should lose their job, those ones, like I mentioned. But I think Tony Romo, I think he's gonna. It's can you imagine the humiliation? So I think he's gonna pay. He's already paying the price, and I don't think that he should lose his career over this. No, I'm making a stupid. I do think it's stupid when celebrities and people that have that kind of money. I'm always just baffled whenever this happens, because it's like you can afford to have a driver. It's just so dumb. Some people don't have the economic means to, they can't take an Uber home every night. Those blue collar guys you're talking about, they can afford to take an Uber home every day. But
he could have Ubered all the way back to Dallas. Yeah, he has no excuse to be driving. That's a good point that needs to be added on it too. Well, Paige, when you started off, I thought you were going to go in the other direction when you said your mom was killed by a drunk driver. I thought you were going to bring the hammer down on me with emotional blackmail. But I appreciate you being fair. Thank you, Paige.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. I don't think all of them are going to go that well. Let's try roll the dice here on Aaron. Aaron in Fort Worth, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right. So I used to be an officer in Georgia for 7 years, and I have plenty of DUI cases. And it was a case-by-case basis, and there's a thing called officer's discretion. You can choose to let the driver go or call another driver, depending on usually the interaction the driver has with the officer. I've had people with 0.16, 0.32, and they didn't have manifestations, but I established enough probable cause while I was behind the driver for his manifestation to be less safe on the roadway before I ever interacted with the driver at the window. I knew they were going to jail before I talked to them, so it wasn't a personal interaction.
Oh, wow.
I think Romo, he was a little more combative, and because he maybe upset the officer, that's why it escalated to an arrest. And I think you should make that decision as an officer by the driver's maneuvering of the vehicle on a public roadway before you interact with them personally. Because then you're taking it personal, and the law is not personal.
Aaron, I totally believe you, because I think that lady officer had her mind made up that he was going to get arrested before she even talked to him, before she even got to the window. I think she had her mind made up. I think he didn't help his case when she's like, "Can you step out of the vehicle?" And he's like, "I'm going to call my lawyer real quick." It's like, whoa, that sounds like what a guilty person would say, Tony. But is that your observation as well?
I don't think he should lose his job. I think people losing their job over DUIs, I think people that are like, you can lose your job over public indecency, right? If you just walked outside nude, I'm pretty sure that would go less fair for him, right? Tony Romo in the nude.
Yep.
But for a DUI, I think we all do it. If you have to, this is the last thing I'll say. If you have to ask yourself, can you drive after drinking? You shouldn't, because you never ask yourself walking to the car from the mall if you can drive. If you have to question yourself, that's your conscience telling you you probably shouldn't.
All right, that might be some good words of wisdom. Thank you, Aaron in Fort Worth. Let's try another one. This is Ed in Reno. You're on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Should Tony Romo lose his job?
Short answer, yes.
Wow. Okay.
I'll give you a couple perspectives why I shaped that opinion. A company, especially one where he is representing that company in the public, the company has a right to decide how their image is to be projected. And if they don't want a known drunk representing them before the public, they've got a right to decide how to be represented.
Agreed.
Now, a big part of my anger, and I'm really angry about this conversation, not this one, but what's been going on the radio. I've had three family members killed by drunk drivers. I'm 65 years old, and for as far back as I can remember, the legal system has played patty cake with drunk drivers. They get off. How many times you hear, fatality accident, drunk driver, you find out it's like his fifth or sixth one. The legal system for my entire life has played patty cakes with these people. They make a conscious decision to drink. They make a conscious decision to get in their vehicle and get on the road and endanger people. And it has to stop. I've had a friend who killed a pregnant woman. She was a nurse going on her way to work, and he decided he was going to outrun the police at night with his lights out. And he ran into her vehicle as she backed out in the street to go to work.
Okay,
I've got some personal experience with what happens with drunk drivers.
Of course. Okay, so
I'm tired of it.
I understand, Ed. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you how much she weighs, but Miss Parker on the blood alcohol content chart, if she has 2 glasses of wine at dinner, she would fail a breathalyzer test. Should she go to jail for driving home after 2 glasses of wine at dinner?
Well, like I said, it's a matter of judgment. I myself have had even a whole bottle while I'm eating dinner of wine, okay? But I've made the decision numerous times, I'm not ready to get behind the wheel. I'll take a nap, sit in the truck, take a nap, or I'll stay and continue to converse and socialize with whoever I'm with. And I drink a couple of glasses of water. So I wait.
Gotcha, Ed.
Or have somebody take me home. I've done that too. It's a matter of judgment.
So maybe she should. So maybe Miss Parker should.
It depends. I don't know.
It's a tough one. All right. Hey, I'm sorry for what you've been through. I appreciate you calling in and sharing that with us. It's got to be tough reliving that. 800-288-9227. We're just discussing the Tony Romo DUI. Should he lose his job with CBS Sports? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, we're just discussing the fate of Tony Romo's career. No big deal. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And he got himself in trouble because a couple days ago, or I guess it was a week ago now, Tony Romo got pulled over in the Milwaukee area after playing in a amateur championship where he must have had a lot because he finished 35 over par. I think that's more damning than his field sobriety test. But here's the update. I'm from WFAA.
Morning new video shows the arrest of former Dallas Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo. He was arrested in Milwaukee last week on suspicion of operating a vehicle while intoxicated.
All right, how many drinks have you had? You're coming from a golf course?
I played in a golf tournament at Wisconsin State Amateur.
Okay.
So it's like a USGA event.
Okay, all right. I'm going to run you through some fields. Field sobriety test.
Romo was then taken to the police station for field sobriety tests. The video shows him struggling with some instructions.
Yeah, he didn't do too good. So the discussion immediately pivoted toward his employer, CBS Sports, who said he hasn't lost his job as of yet, but we haven't made our final decision. So I guess we're waiting on the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Is that your final answer? I don't think he should lose his job. And I think we've gone too far in the other direction on drunk driving. Drunk driving's terrible. It kills people just needlessly. It's one of the leading causes of death for people who haven't done anything wrong in their entire life. We all know someone who's been killed or injured by a drunk driver at this point. However, there is such thing as too much. We've made it illegal. We punished it hard. Some people are calling for more harsh laws. I don't know how making it even illegaler is going to stop it. One thing we just have to bite the bullet and realize, no matter how hard we punish it, there's still going to be some guy who has too many and gets behind the wheel of a car. Until we're just all in self-driving cars, this problem isn't going to go away. We do need to work on minimizing it. But let me go back to the... Hey, stop. Let me go back to before drunk driving was really cracked down on. In the early 80s, they upped the laws in Texas, and they had a news report on it. And I think this was like 1982. I'm not sure about the year, but you can tell everybody's closed. This is sort of Dukes of Hazzard era.
Still, any attempt to restrict drinking and driving here is viewed by some as downright undemocratic.
It's kind of getting common is when a fella can't put in a hard day's work, put in 11, 12 hours a day, and then get in your truck and at least drink 1 or 2 beers.
They're making it laws where you can't drink when you want to. You have to wear a seatbelt when you're driving. And pretty soon we're going to be communist country.
All right, so that's the spectrum there. The people who love drunk driving, the people who are irrationally opposed to drunk driving. We're just trying to figure out where the middle is. And I don't think Tony Romo should lose his job. To the phones we go. Kelly in Brownwood. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Kelly, go.
Hello?
Hey, Kelly, you're on.
Oh, yes. I do not think he needs to lose his job. I have a felony for a DWI for a blood alcohol content of 0.080002.
Oh, my God. How many had you had to drink? Like 2?
2 beers.
Yeah.
I weigh 115 pounds.
Right? Man, I'm surprised you weren't higher.
The police officer that arrested me didn't want to arrest me. And I said, well, you don't have to. He said, ma'am, we're past that point. But he did show up and testify for me in court. So,
well, what got you pulled over?
I was going 5 miles over the speed limit. I thought I was in Arley and I was still in Brownwood. He had already handed me my driver's license and my ticket, and I asked him how his night was going. He asked me about my night. I told him about my night, and when I told him that I'd gone to dinner, had a couple of beers, he said, "You've been drinking?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." He said, "Ma'am, I need you to step out of the car."
You told on yourself. What are you doing?
Well, I figured this way, if the truth is what got me in it, the truth will get me out. But yes, I did. But it didn't occur to me. I wasn't drunk. That's the problem I have with that is that I was not intoxicated.
Well, not according to... Tell it to the judge, Kelly.
Well, actually, I pled guilty because I had been drinking, and fighting it wasn't going to get me any different because they did a blood test on me, and I pled guilty because it was the truth.
My
But I do
goodness.
not believe that somebody should lose their career over a mistake.
All
If
right.
he was drinking at work, maybe, but I mean, he's got legal stuff he's going to have to deal with. He'll be adjudicated.
I hear you.
He'll pay for his crime, but that shouldn't affect his livelihood.
Well, Kelly, thanks for sharing your story. Go have a beer.
Thank you. I don't drink anymore.
Bet not. All right, let's go to Steve in Arlington. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Steve.
Hello.
Hey, Steve, you're on. Go. Steve. Lava chicken. Steve. All right, we'll just go to a break. Or let me try and squeeze in with someone else. Garrett's looking at me funny. Larry in Commerce, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Yeah, James, no way Tony should lose his job over this.
Why do you sound so sure about that?
Realize, well, the things that we've all done it. I mean, we've all been guilty of something. He was not sin cast the first stone, but you know, Tony does so much for charities, and I mean, he made a mistake. I agree, but he should not lose his job.
Well, thank you for saying that. The only real comeback that I'm sympathetic to is if he does have like a morality clause in his contract, and if CBS does this for anyone who gets a drunk driving arrest. Because part of the thing I think that's not fair is, like, I've worked at TV and radio stations, and I remember there's one time a TV host got a DWI. And he lost his job. Well, if the cameraman had gotten a DWI, he doesn't lose his job. So the company is treating you differently because you're in the public face. Okay, that's tough. I understand why they do that. That's just tough. All right, thank you very much. That's Larry in Commerce, 800-288-9227. We have more callers reacting to Tony Romo. Should he get fired for the DWI? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. We're just debating the fate of Tony Romo's career on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. The former Cowboys quarterback, now CBS sports broadcaster, got himself in trouble at the end of last week. Coming home from a round of golf or coming back to Granny and Grandpa's house after a round of golf at the Milwaukee Amateur Championships. That's pretty cool. He didn't win, finished 35 over par. Maybe he had too much to drink. CBS hasn't said if he's going to lose his job, but it's under consideration. Some people think he should be fired. Some people think he shouldn't. If you look at the comment section, overwhelmingly people think he should be fired. But I think just the angry people have a tendency to comment more than people who are like, whatever. And I think that's kind of been reflected in the calls here. Let me see what a couple more of your neighbors are saying. And then we're gonna get over on the Fauci story after we do the news. This is Jeff and Justin, or is this Justin and Jeff? You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Yes, sir. I just got two things. One, do you have to put those people from Kentucky on to talk about what that'll do about drinking and driving? We all don't talk like that.
Have one or two beers. Yeah, I love that, man. I'm gonna start saying beers like that. Beers. Beer. Give me a beer.
Also,
hang on. No one knows what you're talking about. Let me play it again. Only few.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Still, any attempt to restrict drinking and driving here is viewed by some as downright undemocratic.
It's kind of getting common when a fella can't put in a hard day's work, put in 11, 12 hours a day, and then get in your truck and at least drink one or two beers.
They're making it laws where you can't drink when you want to. You have to wear a seatbelt when you're driving. And pretty soon we're going to be communist country.
Well, don't make fun of her too much, Jeff. She predicted the future. Anyway, your reaction to Romo.
Is she from Flint or Bullard? That's all I want to know.
Now you're making fun of me. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. As far as he's concerned, is this his first time?
I think so.
I'm kind of on the fence on this, but the first time, and then after that, drop the hammer on him. That's just my part.
So if it's a pattern of bad behavior, then that's what would take you too far.
Not necessarily a pattern, but number two.
Okay. Fair enough. That's where you draw the line. Seems fair to me. Maybe we should put you in charge of CBS. Let's go to Bill in Miso Forney. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Good afternoon, James. This is your Uncle Bill out in Forney. I had a couple things to say about Tony. I think that you got it backwards on shooting 35 over and being drunk when he did it. He might have done it after he shot 35 over.
To dull the pain of a bad round of golf? That makes sense.
Well, nobody ever does that, I'm sure.
No.
The other thing is he's probably just, throwing props behind all the advertisers on CBS that throw beer at you every 2 minutes while you're watching a football forecast or a football broadcast.
Oh, I love that angle, Bill. Yeah, how can CBS? How can they punish him for partaking in the product that's in the commercials between his segments? I like that a lot.
They might even throw him on a halftime ad or something.
right. They're going to put the dash cam in a new promo for Bud Light. It'll be part of the halftime show. Yeah, Bill and Forney, good point. There would be a level of hypocrisy. CBS punishing Tony Romo for partaking in a product that is advertised during CBS football games. I like that. See, this is why we take calls. I miss stuff sometimes. Uncle Bill filled it in. Stephen Arlington, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM. Wait, didn't you already call?
I dropped your call because I'm technology challenged.
Oh, you were the one that wasn't there earlier. Well, I'm glad you called back. Go ahead.
Thank you, James. Hey, I want to comment on Tony. Tony he was a quarterback for America's team. And I want to flip this to a positive thing. I think he should keep his job. And I don't know what his salary is, but he makes a lot of money. I think if CBS was smart, and it would reflect on them also, is Tony, if you're going to continue working with us as a sports analyst, and he's very good at football, he can tell you the play before it even starts, you're going to do a public service announcement using part of your salary to tell kids and adults and whatever to don't drive drunk. I think they would get a lot of mileage out of it. I mean, he's a great guy. I mean,
well, I don't know. I get what you're saying, and that might do some good. I would giggle at it because that'd be like Michael Phelps telling you not to smoke weed. Hey, guys, don't smoke weed. It wouldn't be good for you. Like, I don't know. It got you 8 gold medals in one Olympics, sir. So
yeah, but Tony Romo's a little more of a public figure that people know.
Very, very true. Very true. Well, listen, one of the reasons I played that, and thank you for your call. One of the reasons I played that old clip from the 80s about the people upset about the drunk driving laws is drunk driving wasn't treated like being a Nazi when you were born and when you were growing up. And in fact, we used to kid about it on cartoons like Speedy Gonzales. He's drunk driving around. They're encouraging it.
Buenas noches, amigos. Hasta la vista. Buenas noches, Speedy. We had fun.
Sí, we will be back mañana. Hasta luego.
They're just drunk driving into stuff, running into things, knocking over brooms, hitting the dog or hitting the cat. It's a good time. It's a good time. You remember in It's a Wonderful Life when, what's his name, George? He was drunk driving and he banged his car up against a tree. The cop got mad at him, not for driving drunk, but for abandoning his car. Hey, you better get back in there and drive that thing home, drunk guy. Remember that? It used to not be the scariest thing in the world. All right, coming up next, the reaction to the Anthony Fauci hearings is almost as disappointing as the hearings audio coming up on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, only slightly worse than the Fauci hearings themselves is the reactions to the Fauci hearings. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And I'm glad it took up most of the show yesterday because I am glad that you are not letting this go. You shouldn't let this go. They destroyed businesses. They destroyed lives. They got people killed. And now that we know just how bad the conspiracy theories were proven to be true, it's also now just known beyond the shadow of a doubt, without any gray area, anybody that's paying attention to the details and taking off their partisan glasses, that the primary person on planet Earth responsible for the creation of this virus is Fauci. Then when it got out, he lied about it. He even lied about ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. More human sacrifices so he could get his emergency authorization. He lied about masks. He lied about the origins. He lied about social distancing. He lied about lockdowns. He lied about therapeutics. All of these lies got people killed off a virus that he created to begin with. So I personally think Anthony Fauci deserves the death penalty more than any person in human history, or in American history, I should say. He has killed more people. The 7 million, and that's the low estimate, just to be fair, the 7 million direct deaths from COVID, from a virus that he is responsible for the creation of and the leaking of. So he's the biggest killer in American history. And then his lying after the fact led to the greatest violation of constitutional rights in American history. Is there any time in American history where you were told you couldn't go to church? And I don't mean just in your lifetime. I mean back in the Civil War, World War I, World War II, segregation, Jim Crow, slavery, the antebellum South, Indian Wars, all that, Trail of Tears. Did they ever tell you couldn't go to church before? So I'm not expecting him to get the death penalty. I'm not even really expecting him to go to prison. My low bar that I'm hoping to accomplish with Fauci being exposed in this manner is that the half of the country that fell for this garbage will wake up. Now, one of them did wake up. In the hearings yesterday, Senator Fetterman from Pennsylvania actually was honest in a moment of regret. And he said it publicly and apologetically and with shame. And John Fetterman, this little example here, this is what everyone who pushed this stuff should be doing. There should be a moment of introspection and apology.
It's not about much more your regrets, but I have one. And that is early on that there was the theory that the virus could have emerged from the lab. And early on, that became like a right-wing kinds of theory. And I thought it seemed to make sense. Now, there was a really advanced lab that was close by, and then you have this unknown virus out. So, but that became a very partisan thing. And now it seems now it's more and more emerging theory that would have come from the lab. Now, I think that the next time our nation's facing something like this, we are not become, as I might have been, blinded by the partisan idea that maybe the truth might come from a side that's different than you are. But I think we should really be willing to pursue truth, no matter where that may have emerged.
So everyone who was telling you Fauci was the greatest, you should listen to this guy. We trust this guy. You're an American hero. You are the science. How dare anybody criticize you? They all owe the world an apology, and they deserve to lose their job far more than Tony Romo does. If you're in the news, if you're in a newsroom, if you're a news anchor, your number one job is to tell the truth. Your number one job is to tell your audience what is going on in the world to the best of your ability. And if I saw through it, and probably you saw through it, I'm going to assume that you saw through it too, after 1 week, well, they're either really bad at their jobs or they're dishonest. Either one of them is grounds for firing. But Grabian made the best montage. Grabian is a news clipping service that us media people use, of the media calling Fauci a hero. All these people owe you an apology and should lose their job.
The single most respected voice in the pandemic, it's Dr. Anthony Fauci.
The man who's become known as America's doctor.
The nation's top infectious disease expert, Anthony Fauci.
You are seen to many as a superhero.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, American hero and New York Yankee fan.
You've done so much for this country in terms of this crisis, so I really appreciate your insight.
Who better to give us answers that we can trust than Dr. Anthony Fauci?
Who better to give us answers we can trust than the guy that made the virus, hid it from us in a Chinese laboratory when it got out, lied to our face about the origin so we wouldn't know it came from his lab, and then lied about the therapeutics getting people killed, and then lied about the lockdowns and the masks and everything so he get emergency authorization for this other pet project. Who better to ask about it than the guy that foisted this upon us with lies?
Perfect person to answer our questions today. Joining us now, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
The perfect person to answer the question. Andrea Mitchell, he is the worst person to answer your questions. Not only are they wrong, it's not like, you're trying to for a 3-point shot and all you hit was the rim. It's like you're shooting at the wrong basket and making it. Anyway, it continues.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, appreciate your candor. Dr. Fauci, appreciate the candor.
We appreciate your service.
This is what they said. They brought him on to deal with this virus that they don't even know that he created yet. And he's just lying to their face about it. And they're like, thank you so much for lying to our face. Thank you so much for taking our rights away. Thank you so much for destroying our businesses and our kids' schooling and our lives and driving up suicides and despair and depression. Because we now know, like in one day he's writing in the diary. Yeah, me and the scientists all agree that this probably came from a lab. Well, all but two of us. The next day, this is him on TV.
And now in the novel coronavirus, we don't know exactly what that animal was, but some animal, probably in a wet market, where they bring in a variety of different types of wild game, and people sacrifice them, particularly around holidays, like the Lunar New Year. It is totally not surprising that you're seeing the facilitation of this jump from the animal species to the human.
That was all made up. There was no evidence. There was no one mentioned a bat or a pangolin or a wet market. That was all. And he knew it was a lie when he was saying it. And the dupes on the other end were just taking it in and passing it along to the world as if it was the gospel truth. He should be in prison. Everyone who fell for this should be fired. Every media person who told you to put on a mask does not deserve to have their job. They cannot be trusted with the public's attention in the future. Coming up next, Curtis Houck, managing editor of Newsbusters, is going to break down the terrible media coverage of the Fauci trial next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, even after the Fauci hearings, the media is still going with the narrative, believe it or not. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. The narrative that Fauci's a good guy, that we needed the lockdowns, that COVID was a necessary violation of your constitutional rights, that it wasn't all built on a lie, that Joe Rogan really did take horse dewormer. They're still sticking with that. The problem we have here, I don't really expect Fauci to go to prison. What I really hope is that half of the country will realize that they were duped, and I don't think they're getting that message. In fact, if the media is not getting their message, their listeners definitely aren't getting that message. Curtis Houck, managing editor from Newsbusters, is my next guest. First off, I love your website, newsbusters.org. I go to it every day for show prep, and the disappointing part of this one is I was watching your website at the beginning of the week, and they weren't even mentioning the diary that had gotten released over the weekend. And so when they actually go to report on the Fauci hearings that happened yesterday, sounds like it's just coming out of nowhere and out of context, and it's just another witch hunt to get Fauci, and there's no new information here. It's just Rand Paul being crazy. And I don't think they're getting the message to their listeners, Curtis Houck.
On a notebook. This was dictated presumably in Word documents on a government computer.
I know. They intentionally make it sound like he had some loose leaf paper and a My Little Pony Trapper Keeper on his nightstand. No, this was.
And a subpoena came in, and the feds just bang, boom, and we're just taking it and hauling it off.
Right. It was on a government computer already. And you can tell he's making, they call it a diary. It looks like he's making notes for his memoirs that he's going to write when this is all done.
Thing that's happening. It's going to be fiery, angry Republicans. Fauci is an 85-year-old man. ABC News kept harping on the fact that he's 85 years old, and look what you're making him do. And they focused on the theatrics of it and the emotions of it. The Republicans were really upset about things that Fauci said or did without actually explaining why. Maybe they would argue that it's implicit regarding the pandemic and what the country went through. But for news media that were so, dutiful and fastidious and groveling in terms of how much they love Tony Fauci, I feel like it kind of required some explanation here. The thing I want listeners to take away from the media coverage is why these two are perfect for each other. Number one, they both can't take criticism. They're very thin-skinned. We saw that. Number two, they're both incapable of saying, I'm sorry.
Well, I saw Fetterman say he's sorry. We've seen Jon Stewart do somewhat of an about face, at least on the lab leak part. But the tragic part, what we have here is if half the country doesn't even know that COVID came from a lab, we can't even have the real discussion on what really happened and what needs to be the recourse to the people who lied to us. Half of them still aren't convinced that they've been lied to.
Was basically running the country. Oh yeah, FDR, JFK were total womanizers. But we didn't talk about it then. Now it can be told. I mean, this is history repeating itself. The same with COVID. But I think on this one, because it was such an incestuous relationship between the so-called public health professionals and the news media, they are both collectively embarrassed, and we have to stay away from it. So, I mean, by and large, yeah, they're focusing on kind of the theatrics, as I said, instead of going into the details, because I think if they did, it would revisit a lot of emotions that people had and still grapple with the country's collective mental breakdown and the isolation and psychosis, and the wreck on the education system that we are still bearing and having to come to terms with now.
Well, it kind of breaks my heart because, if we have such a massive information or disinformation crisis here, the part that breaks my heart is these people are willing to continue the narrative, continue the lying for political purposes, even though 7 million people died, even though hundreds of thousands of small businesses got destroyed, millions of people's lives got destroyed, millions of people were fired, millions of soldiers lost their job, doctors, nurses, teachers, talk show hosts lost their jobs for this, and they're still keeping the lie going.
It simply can't be, oh, we did our best with what we knew at the time. Give me a break. And that is where I think the toughness needs to come in on China. I feel like I speak for some conservatives when I say the president could obviously be tougher on China when it comes to this kind of thing. Yes, there's been a ban on gain of function research, but like we know with the deep state, do they actually comply with these kinds of demands? Money's still going out the door. There's the relationships that are still there. So it is media malpractice to the highest degree. It is frustrating because it's much easier for me to come out here and say, oh, they didn't cover X, Y, and Z, or they surprisingly did a good job. It's kind of this middle ground that we've come up with, where they're covering it, they're mentioning key diary entries, but they're not really illuminating or explaining those kinds of things. Instead, they're kind of asserting that this is
Yeah.
just an escapade. That really, who wants to talk about this kind of thing? That's like saying in 2004, 2005, yeah, who cares about 9/11? We would have thought you're insane.
Exactly. All right, Curtis Howe, good stuff. He's from newsbusters.org. And coming up in the next segment, I'm going to play some of the clips I got from newsbusters.org where they were keeping track of how the media, is reacting to this. And it's going to be really disappointing. I'm James Parker. This is The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, prepare to be disappointed by the media's reaction to the Fauci hearings. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You know, they should be licking their chops because in 2022, Fauci was like, yeah, I'd love to testify. Heck yeah, I'll testify. I got nothing to hide. If you want to call, I'll whatever time. If you want to make me a punching bag, fine. I have nothing to hide. I'll happily answer all your questions. Now, that's easy to say when the president is a guy who's going to pardon you no matter what happens, and he was pardoned for testifying in front of Congress. But the second the pardon power goes away and you can actually be held accountable for lying to Congress, you change your mind? Really? This is 2022.
If I become a punching bag, I'm a punching bag, but I am very happy to testify before any congressional oversight committee. I have nothing to hide. I can explain and validate everything that I've done. So, you know, it's going to be inconvenient if they actually are out there essentially threatening to make my life miserable. But I'm going to do what I need to do, and that is cooperate fully because we have nothing to hide at all.
Apparently you do. And no, we don't want to make you a punching bag. We want to make you a prison wife. Big difference. So how are they responding to the hearing yesterday? How are they responding to the new evidence that was exposed in the Fauci diaries, the Fauci logs? They're just saying, oh, it's just politics, just a show trial. That's all.
This is a show trial. By
the way, this is M. Snow.
This is a show trial. This is Rand Paul deeply invested in this narrative that there was a conspiracy. Is Ron Johnson deeply invested in this narrative that scientists are misleading the country? It's Donald Trump deeply invested in taking out vengeance on Fauci, who he thinks helped ruin his first term. And that is what this is all about. And that is why Fauci doesn't want to answer questions, because he fears legitimately the real purpose of this is not to have a careful, thoughtful retrospective on how we handled the last pandemic and do better next time. It is an effort to get him, extract vengeance on him and put him in jail.
Yeah, no, we're not. No one's trying to get to the truth. Yeah, we're just caught up by politics. We're not bothered the fact that he made the virus when he wasn't supposed to. We're not bothered by the fact that he lied about the origins of it. We're not upset about the fact that he got 7 million people killed, or he lied about hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. We're not upset that he pushed the lockdowns and ruined our lives and businesses. No, it's just partisan witch hunt. That's all. Just a partisan witch hunt. No, who cares about millions of people dying? That can't possibly. No. And we're also upset about the constitutional violations, not just all the dead bodies around us, but garbage like this.
Hello, you have reached the Department of Public Safety stay-at-home hotline. The information you leave is considered public information. At the tone, please leave the following information: your name, your callback number, how the stay-at-home order is being violated, and where the stay-at-home order was violated. Thank you.
Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
By the way, that wasn't a skit. That was the Minnesota snitch line Tim Walz set up when he was governor in order for you to tattle on your neighbors for breaking the lockdowns. We're not going to forget that. I'm not going to forget that. You better not forget that. To the phones we go. This is Raphael in Dallas. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, James.
Hey, Raphael.
What's up? Yeah. I was, oh my goodness, this freaking speaker deal. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
What's that leftist deal that they always holler and scream, nobody's above the law? What's going on with that? Is it, we got to find the law that they broke first? And we all know the stated facts that they did authorize the research, the vaccination, and all the other things that he's got in place. That man needs to go to jail, or maybe why doesn't he get the Fauci vaccine?
He did get the Fauci vaccine. He actually did have a cardiac infarction, which is a minor heart attack, if I understand the reporting correctly. He just hid all of that from you, too, in 2021. In July 2021, he gave himself a cardiac infarction for taking the shot, yeah.
Well, instead of the cyanide or whatever they use nowadays, why don't they just keep injecting that Fauci into his system till get another incident with him?
Well, look, we don't have to tie him up and put him in a bed of ants and cover his face in honey. We look, just line him up against the wall. That's all. We don't have to drag it out. We don't have to be torturous. We don't have to be barbaric
he made
here.
us suffer. He made us suffer. Why can't he suffer?
Well, because we're better than him.
I mean,
That's why we're civilized. We're not the kind of a-holes that would lie about a virus that I created, and we're just dismissive about 8 million people dying, and then lying about the therapeutic so even more people would die.
I've got a 96-year-old mother. She took it 3 times. She's healthy. She's had 7 kids, and she's doing excellent. She's doing great. I don't know why some people were affected by it and some others weren't. It's a crazy thing. Now that the Alzheimer's setting in and everything, it's just she's okay.
We all have someone close to us who either died from this or was harmed by the shot. And if you don't, then you at least know someone who had their life ruined because they lost their jobs, or some of us lost 2 jobs in the same year from the same thing. It's so weird. Now, I just any kind of retribution. And it's not even that I want to punish Fauci. I just want the rest of the world to know that this was wrong and we should never tolerate this again. That for the rest of your life, and be sure to tell your children and your grandchildren, and if you're lucky enough to live long enough, your great-grandchildren, the next time they tell you to lock down, the next time they tell you to close your schools, and especially the next time they tell you you can't go to your own church, you tell them no. And then we all go out en masse and we just get arrested. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, there is something you can do about hunger here in North Texas that doesn't require money taken from you by force via the tax system, filtered through politicians, and then have that sprinkled around however they see fit. No, we want to get rid of government in the charity sector. We have to step up and do some of these little private things, and I'll tell you about a good opportunity you have coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, you got a chance to make a difference in your community and help fight hunger coming up. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. One of the popular grocery chains here in North Texas, Kroger, is calling on North Texans that we're trying to pack 1 million meals for your neighbors here. And it's the Kroger Million Meal Pack. And it's not this Friday as in tomorrow, but next Friday, August 7th. You're going to go down to Gillies Southside Ballroom, not too far from where I'm broadcasting now, on the south side of downtown Dallas. And you show up in the morning, or actually there's 3 different 2-hour shifts. And if we can get enough people out there and pack 1 million meals, this is exactly what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about we need to get the government out of the job of feeding people and taking care of poor people, we need to do that ourselves as a community. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And to give me assist with this, the Director of Corporate Affairs at Kroger, John Vitava, is on the James Show. Now, John Vitava, I really like the sound of this. Is this a new program, or is this something I just missed in years past?
James, this is something completely new for the Dallas area. We have done these in other geographic areas around the country where Kroger has a large number of stores. And so now we thought, hey, it's time for Texas to get this, because actually, I don't know if you heard this week, there was actually some news that came out that actually said Texas continues to lead insecurity for people, and it's actually worse for kids because the number actually dropped. It's now 1 in 4 kids don't know where their next meal is coming from. So this is perfect timing for the Million Meal Pack to feed our neighbors here in Texas.
So are you actually aiming at 1 million? That sounds like a huge number.
It is a huge number, but many hands make for light work. So what we're going to do is we're going to pack it up, a bunch of bags. We're packing up red lentil jambalaya. So everyone's scooping into funnels. The bags are sealed, placed in boxes, loaded onto pallets. And then we've got food bank partners, Tarrant Area Food Bank, North Texas Food Bank, and Minnie's Pantry, Crossroads Services. They're going to be out there, Wilkinson Center. These groups are coming and they're taking the pallets, and they can be in the hands of our neighbors that same day. So everyone is pitching in. They're going to be pulling this together, but we need volunteers. So everyone can go to mealpack.org if they have time next Friday to serve with us. We have 3 convenient shifts, like I said. And we're just making it a fun community day to join with Kroger associates, our customers, and our community.
Well, I like the timing of this because this is one last chance for the kids to do something for the community. You know, you want to get them to volunteer at some point and not just spend their summer playing around and having fun and doing sports. And my kids actually start school the week after that. So I think this might be a good last chance to get your kids involved.
Yeah, James, bring them over on next Friday because it's all ages event. It's free to join us. It's free parking. We're going to have free air conditioning. How about that?
Woohoo!
And you get to come out and you get to serve your community. And if you want, you can serve 1 shift for 2 hours, or you can serve all 3 shifts if you want, if you've got the time and you're feeling good about the work you're doing in the community. It's all ages, and especially those kids who are looking for volunteer service project hours. We'll have a QR code that you can scan and get that box checked so that you get those 2 hours credited towards your service projects for the year for your students.
Well, this is great. I love this. John Vitava, I gripe about entitlement spending all the time, and I think some people like to misinterpret that as like, well, you just don't care about hungry people. No, I would just rather do it through programs like this. It is the Kroger Million Meal Pack. If you need more information, mealpack.org. But the short summary is it's next Friday at Gillies, about a mile south of from where I'm at right now. Thank you very much, John. I appreciate you coming on the James Show. All right, let's run back over to the phones here. This is Karen in Saginaw. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hi, James. I don't usually call into radio stations, but I have a question about the Anthony Fauci testimony.
Yeah.
Did he have to take the fifth on everything? I mean, couldn't he have answered one question, or it? it was all or nothing.
Yeah, I'm kind of a bad person to ask about that because I'm not a lawyer. And so I can tell you what I've read from other people who actually have expertise in the field. And I'm not getting a straight answer on that one either. I've seen some very credible people say, well, if you can't pick and choose. If you're going to take the Fifth Amendment, you have to take it for the entirety of the hearing. You can't say, well, I'll answer the questions that appeal to me, but the ones that are incriminating, I'll choose to not answer those. No, it's either you answer questions or you don't. And then I've seen other people say that you're only allowed to take the Fifth Amendment if it's something that could be incriminating to you. So when Josh Hawley asked, what color is that folder in front of you on the desk, and he takes the fifth, that's an inappropriate use of it. And I got to plead ignorance here, Karen. I don't know who's right.
Okay.
I know it's no fun. I like to be a know-it-all and give good answers, but I can't lie to you. I don't know.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Right. A non-answer is still an answer. Joe in North Richland Hills. You're on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP.
Well, good afternoon. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Joe.
Well, I just have a question. I was thinking about this to your show, and this literally is my first call to a radio station. So I know he has this pardon here in the United States, and my thoughts are, well, he kind of affected most of the world, part of the world, whatever. Couldn't, he be subpoenaed by another country and, brought up on charges, international?
Yeah, I've heard people say that, and here's how the conversation goes. Joe, you're in charge of Canada now. How do you do that? What do you charge them with?
Well, I think I'll use the word subpoena him and go before their version of Congress or committees and where he has to answer the questions. And I don't know. Again, it's food for thought more than anything else, but I don't know the answer either.
Yeah, well, if you're Anthony Fauci, you wouldn't comply with that.
Well, true, and that's why I asked the question. And I mentioned the International Court of Law. I guess that's still a body.
Well, listen, Joe. Let me tell you what I do know from people who are more well versed in this. We had Jeremy Rosenthal on either yesterday or the day before, and I had asked him about this, and it sounded like your best shot at someone outside of the United States getting to this guy would be a civil lawsuit, like a class action lawsuit.
Yeah.
Okay, so well, that's civil. I don't think that'll put him in prison, but if it bankrupts him, that's better than nothing. I think that's all we got, though.
Well, in a civil case like that, I mean, he couldn't plead the Fifth, so he could, I guess, dodge the questions that were asked yesterday or what have you. But as long as he was held liable, I'd be happy.
Right. Listen, he's 85, so I think he just wants to run out the clock and be dead before the truth comes out and everyone has to admit that. Because we're asking half of the country to admit that they were absolute dupes. They were dupes, and they were dupes in the worst way. They were duped into destroying children, into destroying businesses, into destroying your constitutional rights. They're going to turn around and gripe about the Constitution now. Well, what about the War Powers Act, or what about the Hunter Biden pardon, or what about Haitian temporary protected status? You got to follow the Constitution. Y'all don't care about the Constitution. If you're not throwing Fauci under 10 buses right now, your opinion of the Constitution means nothing to me. Thank you very much for your call, Joe in North Richland Hills. Coming up next, the legendary Lawrence in Fort Worth is going to weigh in on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Well, we started off talking about the hot water that Tony Romo's in. Then we have shifted to the hot water that Anthony Fauci is in. And I really want to focus on the hot water that half of your neighbors should be in. Because when we take these things and we line them up, and like now that we have confirmed things that were suspected for the last 6 years, the indictment is of Anthony Fauci, yes. But there's also quite a bit of, criticism that should be had for the politicians, the medias, the academics, the scientists, everyone that got out and fronted those lies. But also, don't let your neighbors get away with it. Maybe I'm talking about you, and don't take this as an insult. But if you fell for this, if you were someone that was supporting mask mandates, and you were telling people to put on a mask, and you were telling people to get a vaccine, and you were telling people that it was Joe Rogan took horse dewormer, if you ever use the term horse dewormer unironically, I need you to be a little vulnerable here and admit that you're not as smart as you think you are. You were duped. And I'm probably not talking about you. I'm probably talking about people that were bothering you. But I think about this, the original lockdown, and when we've had to put on the mask, that was one thing. But after we all had a couple weeks to do our own research, I really thought all of us would say, yeah, 15 days to slow the spread. That's it. We're not going to extend this anymore. And I was really shocked when my fellow Americans went along with something that was so obviously fake. And don't forget, in 2020, when we got into the summer months, it was overlapped with the George Floyd stuff. And so there was a real interesting just time capsule in the summer of 2020 that I will remember forever. And you probably had 10 experiences like this that you'll remember forever. I remember you had to wear, they did the mask mandate again. Like here in Dallas County, Clay Jenkins in July was like, well, we got to do the mask again. Well, I was in New Orleans at the time. We had to do the mask again. So I was like, man, I can't go back to wearing a mask. So I went into the grocery store without a mask on. There was a brother who was in there who looked like he was about my age. And he was nicely dressed, so he didn't look like he was like a troublemaker or anything. He dressed nicer than me, probably made more money than me, judging by his shoes. But he looked at me and he had his mask on, and I could tell that his eyes got big when he saw me. And I'm like, well, is this about the mask? And then he kind of gently nudges his wife or whatever woman standing next to him and kind of nods to me, and she looks. And so now I have both of these people looking at me, this couple looking at me. And we look like peers. We're going to the same grocery store. We probably live 3 houses down from each other. We should be on the same side in here, in this. But I was thinking in my head, is this guy going to go tattle on me? While half of the country is erupting, saying you shouldn't deal with the cops. Cops are nothing but pigs. We can't trust authority. No snitching, that whole thing. I was like, well, is he going to be anti-cop or is he going to be pro-COVID enforcement? And that bastard went and tattled on me, and a security guard came and told me, it's like, hey, do you have a mask? And I said, no. And he's like, well, we will provide one for you. And I said, I'll just leave. I can't live like that. And I think about that guy. I wonder if he knows that he was duped. I wonder if he knows that the science, air quote, was a scam. I wonder if he knows that all of those people that were telling him he should be policing my behavior and we should be wearing masks, they were all lying to him and he was a dupe. That's what I want. I want that guy to know that he's not as smart as he thinks he was. And when he went and tattled, he was in the wrong. With that, let's go to the legendary Lawrence in Fort Worth. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey, James, thanks for taking my call. I feel so much the same way you feel about Fauci. And, brother, I go a few steps further. The dude was a front man for the pharmaceutical industry, for the Biden and the Democrats. He was the poster child for leading America down that funky path. And you know, most people, not all, but a large percentage of people who died from this so-called COVID, they had pre-existing conditions. Most of them were obese. A large percentage of them were obese. They weren't healthy. And on top of all that, a lot of people who took the shot, hey, brother, if you know them up close, you can see how it messed with their personality. It altered the way they think, the way they behave. I didn't take the shot. My wife didn't take it. My daughter didn't take it. My son, since he's Air Force, they told him he had to, but his chain of command told him, take the Johnson. Don't take the other ones. And most of them, but I could still see a change in his personality. I say this to say this. Look at the AIDS epidemic. That was a man-made disease. Point of interest, look how they got all kind of drugs you can take to hide the fact that you got AIDS. See, the bottom line of it is, people in America, I don't know, you know, I guess the dummies, I call them dummies. They don't read. They're so willing to take the word and advice of the jackleg doctors or anybody who allegedly supposed to know more than them. And Fauci, he should be taken out and shot. But not only him, the people who he was fronting for, the big pharmaceuticals, the Biden, Bill Gates, all these people like that. Hey, man, all I can say, James, is simply this. You're spot on, but you can come a lot harder because this dude, he did something against humanity. For you to do what he did, come on, brother. There's no redemption. There's no redemption in you. If you're willing to sacrifice people, babies, impact people's lives, come on, man. You're being too nice.
Dude, I'm saying, I'm not being nice, Lawrence. I'm saying Anthony Fauci has deserved the death penalty more than anybody else in American history. No one has killed more people than Anthony Fauci, and no one has, through false pretenses, given us the greatest violation of our constitutional rights. No one's done worse than Anthony Fauci in both of those respects. And if anybody's ever deserved to be executed, it is Anthony Fauci. That's pretty harsh.
You're right. And hey, well, James, I'm going to tell you something. Think on this.
Okay.
Biden and the Democrats and all these billionaires, big pharma, they pushed this hoax on the America and the world. Think about how they violated our civil rights, our constitutional rights. I think that was a prelude to what they plan to do further down the road. They wanted to see how gullible we were. Now it backfired on them with Trump being in, with all this information coming out. Hey, man, I'm waiting on the next shoe to drop, James. They don't come with something else, brother.
I hope you're right, but Lawrence, we can't even get the Fauci shoe to drop. I mean, that guy's still walking around free. Tony Romo has spent more time in jail than Anthony Fauci, and I think that's a real travesty. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, more on the fallout from the Fauci hearings. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
News Talk 820 WBAP.
And now on FM at 93.3.
Hey, homeowners here in North Texas. It's the middle of summer. It's blazing hot. It's like 11,000 degrees outside. And you ever just stand and stare at your air conditioner, maybe the condenser outside or the blower, or sometimes just the thermostat, and you just hear it running for 23 out of 24 hours a day? And you do the old Tiger King line, like, I will never financially recover from this. Doesn't have to be that way. Something that can help you out. Rhino Shield. Not only will it make your house look fantastic and stay looking fantastic for decades, not just a handful of years, but it lowers your energy cost. Look, you got to check out the space age technology. You go to rhinoshielddfw.com. They'll come out and just ask for the demonstration on how it works. And you'll see, like, why do we even bother with paint? Paint's good for the inside of your house. If you need to remodel your bathroom or something, go with paint. But on the outside of your house, you are really cheating yourself if you don't get Rhino Shield, because it blocks 90% of UV rays. It has a 6.9 R factor. And look, it helps with just the comfort, the temperature, the humidity. It just performs better than it does what paint can't. So you don't paint your house, you coat your home. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Donald Trump's going to come to town. It's just, 5 weeks away now? He will be here for the Republican midterm convention, and this is a new thing that I think we're probably going to be doing every 2 years now, having a convention. It'll be September 9th and 10th at the American Airlines Center, right where I'm sitting right now. So when those 2 dates roll around, I want you to remember the old James Show here, because we are going to be all over it. So the Fauci hearings, we already went through Fauci. We already dissected that. We already dissected the politicians that fronted it. We already dissected the media that pushed it. I'm kind of taking a look at our neighbors now, because I give a lot of grace to people who got scared and overreacted, but about a month or two into it, everyone has access to the internet. Everyone had the ability to go do the research. And after that first 15 days to slow the spread, if you weren't on my side of the thinking by then, it started to count against you. The shocking part is, like we were making fun of the DSAs, the Democrat Socialists of America now, they just had their convention last month, and half the people in the crowd were still wearing masks. Not only is COVID over, the mask did nothing in the first place. Do you remember the mask doing nothing in the first place? Do you remember the Cochrane study where this came from? Look, and I bet a bunch of people don't. Look, this is CNN. This is Michael Smerconish. They had Fauci on. This is in 2023. In September of 2023 is when this audio was. A month or two before that, the Cochrane study had come out. And it was the biggest meta study of studies on the efficacy of masks. And they determined that it didn't work. The mask wearing didn't work. It doesn't matter if it N95, doesn't matter if it was mandated, not mandated, the compliance rate, none of it mattered.
There's no doubt that masks work. Different studies give different percentages of advantage of wearing it, but there's no doubt that the weight of the studies, and there have been many studies, indicate the benefit of wearing masks.
I'm going to refer to one of them. You've heard about it before. I heard about it from a number of radio callers. Brett Stevens in the Times talked about Cochrane. Put that on the screen. The most rigorous and comprehensive analysis of scientific studies conducted on the efficacy of masks for reducing the spread of respiratory illness, including COVID-19, was published last month. Its conclusions, said Tom Jefferson, the Oxford epidemiologist who is the lead author, were unambiguous. There is just no evidence that masks, make any difference, he told the journalist Mayan Damasi, full stop. But wait, hold on. What about the N95 masks as opposed to the lower quality surgical or cloth masks? Makes no difference. None of it, he said. Well, what about the studies that initially persuaded policymakers to impose mask mandates? They were convinced by non-randomized studies, flawed observational studies. How do we get beyond that finding of that particular review?
So you know what this means? This means every time some teacher or flight attendant or employee at a store was forcing a mask on a crying 2-year-old, it was nothing more than low-grade child abuse. It was for no effect. It was for no health purpose. It was for no safety purpose. It was all for show. It was all based on lies. So you just tormented children, millions of children all around the world for 2 years over this lie. A little hesitance, a little bit of shame, a little bit of humility would be nice from the half of the country that supported this. And how about you kind of soft pedal your opinions on other scientific matters, on whether or not you understand climate change or whether or not you understand what data centers are going to do to the environment, or oil's evil, or fracking so bad, or you're wrong about it all. Evan in the Colony. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, James, thanks for taking my call. Hey, a couple of things. After going off that soundbite, my wife is a speech language pathologist. She works at a nursing and retirement center in Richardson, and with full PPE and just 2 shots, and full PPE meaning a mask, N95 mask, a clear shield, gloves, and everything, she got COVID twice. And, she had to do it for her job. I get that. But I told your producer what just really got me is I agree with what you said about the deaths and ranking him along Pol Pot, Stalin, Hitler. And one of the things that my wife saw on more than one occasion was a resident dying while everything was on lockdown without their family members being able to come see them. The last thing they saw, those that didn't have dementia, were people with PPE gear, and that was it. And that really hit home with my wife. It chapped her beyond belief. It angers me still to this day. And something needs to be done with Fauci, and I agree with everyone else in the academia as well as scientific community that this whole thing was just, I can't even keep talking about it because it angers me so much when I think about people at residence where she worked that died that didn't get to see any family members, and their family members didn't get to see them before they passed away.
Where was the humanity in all of the doctors, nurses, and hospital administrators when that happened? What the hell happened to these people? How could they?
Well, one thing.
How could you treat another human being like that? Hey, your grandmother's about to die, but you can't see her. She's about to die. Who cares if she gets COVID? She's going to die anyway. No, we want her to die cold and alone and scared, surrounded by strangers.
No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. And I guess if there's a time to have Alzheimer's or dementia, it was then, because those people really didn't know what the heck was going on if one of them passed away. And then all the money that everybody was making off this stuff being written down and tagged as COVID. I mean, my gosh, it was a cash cow, just not for Fauci, but for the medical community in general that was making money off this. And it's just atrocious.
Evan,
it really is.
God, that ticks me off. So don't get me all worked up, man. I'm going to say a cuss word because listen, here's my opinion on this. Every doctor that was okay with that scenario, really, you're not going to let me see a person who's already in hospice, who's already going to die anyway for their own safety. That makes so little sense that I have no choice but to think that you're either really stupid or really evil. And in both of those scenarios, you should lose your medical license. Any doctor who denied ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine to a patient that was asking for it because they were duped by misinformation, they have proven that they are not responsible or trustworthy enough to practice medicine anymore. I mean, I'm not just asking for repercussions on Fauci. All you doctors and nurses that went along with this, you know better. You knew better. I have friends that are, and thank you very much for your call, Evan. I have a friend that's a doctor up in Oklahoma. She didn't fall for this for 1 second. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, we're just going through lessons learned from the Fauci hearings. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And the real lessons aren't from the hearing itself. It's from the diary notes that came out last weekend and the absolute lack of any apology, shame, or even admission that they were wrong from the half of the country that lost their mind during COVID. And one of the lessons here is I want people to get this right. I want people to know how much of this last pandemic, air quotes, was a hoax, and a big chunk of it was, there really was a virus that really was killing people, but they lied about the origin, they lied about the treatments, they lied about the lockdown, they lied about the masks, they lied about social distancing. Because I remember when social distancing, this was a new term for you too in 2020, and I said, they're all using this term. Where does this come from? There must be some research report I haven't read, or some article, or some book, or some documentary, or some movie, or something. There was nothing. I looked for, because I was on talk radio. I had to talk about this every day. I was on 6 days a week in 2020. There was nothing. It really was just made up out of thin air. And I came out in March and was saying, hey, this social distancing is just made up. There's no history of this. And there's nowhere in history where we've had a pandemic and people were like, hey, this is our reaction. And it worked. So I was just flabbergasted that not everyone knew that it was a total lie. A couple months into it, now it just blows my mind. It makes me want to smash my head like Gallagher watermelon, knowing that half of the country still hasn't figured it out. That's the hardest part, is we have to share this country with so many idiots. This is Mark in Plano. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, Parker. This beyond maddening. I am so upset. My dad died from the damn virus after effects and stuff like that. It was a horrific death. My 88-year-old mother-in-law took ivermectin and was better, up and walking around within 24 hours. And after 48 hours, her oxygen levels were back to normal after doctors told her it would kill her. I had a friend of mine who died because they refused to give him ivermectin. I knew Dr. Peter McCullough. He was my cardiologist. And even before I met him, we were finding out information about all this virus stuff and saying, it's influenza, guys. Treat the mechanics of the disease the way you do influenza, and you're going to deal with it effectively. And so there were just all kinds of things. I did a mass study for 2 months when they do in the county lockdowns of comparable counties. And we found that the counties with the mass mandates and so forth had a 4 times increase in issues with COVID because the mask actually made it worse because it increased the viral load in the mask that projected out by the heavier breathing. It was a nightmare all around with this stuff. There's a Frontline COVID Critical Care Alliance that you guys may be familiar with. Those doctors, I worked with an AI systems group, business partner of mine. I did the vetting on the COVID analytic tool. They told us to shut it down because it wasn't sending enough people to ER, said it was too risky. I used myself as analytics because I have an autoimmune disorder, and it said I need to go to ER every single time. And I didn't wear a mask except for the 15-day, the stop the spread thing. After that, I was out all the time, big group meetings. I took my prophylactics, and I was around people in small environments that had COVID, and never got sick.
I'm sorry for your story.
On and on and
no,
on.
No,
and
hey,
on.
a lot of people have that story. There's so much death and suffering and economic pain and childhood pain and suicides and long COVID. And the fact that not everyone wants to get to the bottom of this is very troubling. The fact that people are overlooking this because of their pre-existing political bias is something that we just have to overcome. And we're not doing a very good job of it. And here it is. Look, here. And thank you for your call, Mark in Plano. This is WFAA this morning. Look out for measles. No, this isn't going to work ever again. Listen.
And health news, 4 new cases of measles have been reported from a county just north of Houston. So the total cases continues to climb in our country, with more this year than all of last year. And medical expert Dr. David Winter from Baylor Scott & White joins us now to explain his concerns for the spread. And Dr. Winter.
Don't care. I'm never listening to any of you people again. I don't care if you're wearing a white lab coat. I don't care if you're whatever you're telling me. I'm never agreeing to a constitutional violation ever again. That's the lesson we learn here. Hey, look, there's another outbreak. Don't care. Uh-oh, this is a serious emergency. Don't care. You guys lied to us too much. I can't believe you. And also, after you were that wrong for years and got so many millions of people killed and had their lives destroyed, there's no apologies. There's no hesitation in the next one. There's no mea culpa. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, Market Hall might become one giant data center. Good. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Remember, Donald Trump's coming to town? He will be here September 9th and 10th for the Republican midterm convention that's happening at the American Airlines Center. Hey, maybe you should get tickets and go to that. We'll be there. You'll be right next to the studios if you come to the convention. Say hi or at least wave through the window. Market Hall might become a data center. WFAA has this report.
Hey, good morning. Yes, according to the Dallas Market Center, the property owner has been looking at what could come next for this site for more than a decade, and now we are learning what could be replacing Market Hall, and it's a data center. Now, Dallas Market Center tells us it stopped accepting future bookings months ago as property owner Crow Holdings evaluates what comes next for the site. The company says it's been considering redevelopment options for more than 15 years, and one option is a 40-acre data center campus along the Stemmons corridor. The location is considered prime real estate because it's close to two of the region's largest internet network hubs. But for the businesses that have called Market Hall home, the news is bittersweet. Party Fest, an event for party planners, caterers, entertainers, has been there for nearly 20 years.
Now, I'm pro data center, and if you ask me, what do you think about data centers taking up Market Hall? I'm not really in favor of it or against it. I'm very indifferent, and that doesn't seem like to be much of a distinction, or actually it kind of seems like I'm ejecting myself from scrutiny whatsoever. But I don't know. I don't know where data centers should go. You know who knows? Data center companies. You know who doesn't know? Me. You know who else doesn't know? The city council in any city that you're in. Unless their previous job was in the data center industry, how do they know better? I don't know. I assume that will work. If it doesn't work, hey, it's their millions and millions, probably billions of dollars of investment. They'll be the ones who pay the cost. But if someone opposes this is just going to make me just throw a water bottle at you, because we can't build them on our farmland. We can't build them out in here in rural. We can't build them where it'll interfere with all these people's houses and their standard of living. It makes noise that people can hear. It'll increase traffic, or I don't know if we can handle that. If we can't build it at Market Center, then you're just against data centers, and all of your criticisms mean nothing. You're just against data centers. So fine, turn Market Hall into a data center. I don't care. The market knows best. And you know what? I had another comment here. It's like, why don't we just build data centers out in the middle of nowhere? Well, didn't that story just kind of tell you it's advantageous to be close to big internet hubs? And while there is a whole lot of space between like Abilene and Sweetwater, there's probably not a gigantic internet hub there. Probably not a good water supply. Look, you don't know where to build data centers. I don't know where to build data centers. The difference is I admit I don't know where the best place is, and I let the data center companies decide. Now, the place government has in this whole decision-making process is the same they would have with any other project, whether it was a data center, whether it was a hot dog factory, whether they were cranking out shoes, whether it was a lead smelter. Just protect the rights of the people around them. That's all you can do. Francis in Houston, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Yeah, I love your show. I just wanted to, it's nice to hear somebody who's most of the time talking exactly like me. Sorry for the noise. I'm in a hospital right now that a cart's going past me. But I actually work in biomed labs, VSL1, VSL2, so I'm trained on PPE. I had a training just on the same thing, PPE training, all the other gear that you have to wear to work inside the labs. And I'm sorry to tell you, man, the doctors, the nurses, they will fight to their dying day saying that the masks work, even though the studies show that they don't. And there were actually studies that I know I was trained on prior to COVID, and I was telling people this is wrong. I mean, even Fauci said at the very start he lied and said that, well, he said the truth. He said masks wouldn't help, and then he turned around and said they would. So right off the bat, he should have been fired. He said it was because there would be a run, but hospitals don't get their masks from Walgreens and CVS. But yeah, these nurses, the study that I used to refer to, there was a link that actually went to college studies on masks. That got casually deleted when the COVID thing started, even for our company.
You're just here to confirm the hubris of your fellow medical industry professionals. We should not expect any sort of mea culpa or admission of wrongdoing.
I'm just saying I don't know what the answer is, because I have family members that don't want to listen. They don't want to listen to me when I try to show them the studies. There's people in the hospitals that don't want to believe what the evidence shows them. They don't even care to look most of the time. So I mean, it's like we're pushing a freight train coming down the tracks.
Well,
with our bare hands.
look at how easily people as a whole, not individuals, but people as a whole can be manipulated if you're playing their emotions, if they're operating on fear. They will do amazingly illogical things based on fear. And we've just got to remember that for the future. The next time there's some big fear, scary thing where they're trying to get you to give up your rights, see through it for what it is. Never give up your rights, ever. They're like, well, what if, how many people have to die before you give up your rights? All of them. That's the answer. Every single one. Chris and Keller, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Yeah, I was just going to say, get ready for the uproar, because they just, the city of Westlake just approved a data center location on the border with Keller. Like, from the data center, you could spit southward and hit Keller, and it's right behind $1 million homes. There's a whole lot of people pissed off about it.
Well, we'll see, because the sympathetic argument that these people have is if it really does infringe on the rights, the private property rights of the people around them. So if it's making a real loud noise and it's next to a residential home, I actually think they have a solid argument there. It's like you are affecting an involuntary third party without compensating them. So we'll see, but you know, it's been my observation that we have 621 data centers already in Texas, and we don't have 621 different neighbors saying this is terrible living in them, because they would all be passed around. The anti-data center crowd is legion, and I'm just not seeing the horror stories that are promised.
Nope, totally agree.
All right, well, great call. I didn't know about that big data center up there, but keep an eye on it for me and give me an update, Chris and Keller. I'd love to hear, because in 6 months, if there's no complaints, that still counts as an update. All right, stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. If you need more James Show action in the meantime, go check out the podcast, the James Show podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and have all kinds of just brilliant videos, clips that are on all the social medias, the YouTube, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, the TikToks, all the things. I'm James Parker. This has been the James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.